Okay, everybody. So what we're going to be looking at today, not this actually, this um, is going to be your lab for this week, your first lab for CPS 6. And we're not doing much this week. We're just going to try to get a program to run. And we're going to look at it in Eclipse as well as maybe one or two of the other Java editors so we can see how it would be a little bit different depending on what you're using to compile your Java applications. So first things first, right? We come to the website and we are going to click on modules and we scroll down to week 2 and you see that there is a lab 1 there now. And lab 1 has a due date of August 31st and which is a week from today. So that should just be due at the end of the day. Now, you could easily crank out this lab in as much time as I'm taking to do it, right? So like this should be like less than a half an hour video. Although, having said that, it's probably going to be longer now. Yeah, so you should be able to do it relatively quickly, but you have a week to do it. So let's click on the lab, which we've just done. And you can see the introduction, first lab assignment. The goal is to follow along with the associated video, which is what you're watching, create our files, and then submit them for credit. So of course it says right now, sorry, not yet for the video because we are recording the video. Okay, so there's a lab 1 PDF here. So I'll click on the lab 1 PDF. I can download this and I'll click that download button, download. Yeah, sure, put it there. Open this in a new tab here, and we are looking at the PDF. And so what this does is each kind of problem that you're going to have that I want you to do is just kind of numbered on here. I put them in a PDF because it's easier to print code inside of a PDF than it is to print code in in a Canvas website or a Word document. So that's why I'm using this PDF here, and you can read the instructions again. But it says what I just said. Follow along with the video, and you'll have to submit some files for a grade. Now, some files is going to be one file for this lab, but in general, there's going to be more than one file. Also, this does not apply to this lab, but in the future, I may have you take screenshots of your code running or something like that, just to show me evidence that it's running. All right. So there's a typo here. It should just be .java, not .java. Is that an L, maybe? But 20 points. And there's only one problem on here. And so essentially what the instructions are going to ask you to do is to, using Eclipse or another Java IDE, create a new project. You don't have to change the name of the class or files. But if you do have the choice of doing that, you should call it Lab 1. And you'll see that when I do this in Eclipse, I am going to be able to call everything whatever I want to call it. But in maybe some of the online editors, they might have a default class name, and it's easier just to leave things with whatever the default class name is. Okay, so just going through this before we actually do it, what you're going to do is you're going to create a new project. And when you create a new project, once it's created, you're going to have a file that looks something like this. Now, this is from one of the online editors. This was the default program. So this right here is not the program that you should be writing for this class. It's not that far off from being what you want, but this is not what you want. So this is just what was created automatically. And so the next instructions are going to say, well, the code that actually does stuff in here, which is from this line to this line, that's the code that actually is functional there, that's doing things. And we're just going to erase that because we don't want it. So skipping ahead to part D here, you're going to end up at some point with something that looks like the code listed in part D, where everything inside that middle block is just empty now. And that's when you actually write your program. So when you get down to part E, that's when you're actually going to write it. So like part E is actually the lab that's part of the lab. And then when you're done, you're going to submit your file onto Canvas. And so we'll see how to do that. So let's just do this from beginning to end. Oops. Sorry. All right. Never look at OBS. All right. So we're going to do this in Eclipse to start with. So I'm going to run Eclipse. So I'm just going to hit Windows key, and I'm just going to start typing Eclipse, and it shows up as the top program and Eclipse IDE. Now this is not the one that I installed last week. And so this is not brand new, but it should be the same thing. So I'm just going to clear out everything in Eclipse here and just erase it and start from scratch. So erase. Okay. So when you start Eclipse, it'll be look something like this. If you've already created a project, you can do what I just did there, where you can select your Java project. I had ones called Java 1 or Lab 1 and Lab 2, and I just selected those both of those and deleted them by right-clicking and then selecting delete. I tried to make my fonts a little bit bigger here, and I don't know if I succeeded. Well, that's bigger. That's good. I don't know why though I couldn't make the icons bigger in the toolbar. Yeah, I don't see an easy way to do it. So I'll just leave it this size. So what we want to do is we want to create a new project. Now you could create a Java project from this panel right here, or you can go File, New, Java Project. So File, New, Java Project. So we do that. When you do that, you're prompted for a project name. You can call the project whatever you want to call it. And this is going to be different than the class name. So I'm just going to be like, here, we'll try this. CPSC 06 Lab 1. Okay. Doesn't matter what you call it. And then notice down here, it should say a default location for this to go. You can put this in another folder. C users, Ghoga. That's my username on here. Eclipse workspace, CPSC 6 Lab 1, right? So we're going to create a folder with the same name as the project. We can go next, but we're not going to touch anything in here for now. But this is where you would add other source files. If you had previously created some Java code and now you were putting it into a project, you could use this. So there's nothing to do here. We're just going to hit finish. Okay. Now, when you do this, you're still looking at a mostly blank page. So what you want to do is you can see your CPSC 6 Lab 1 up here in the corner. I really wish I could make that font a little bigger. I'm going to try one more time. Font. Colors and fonts. Is there icons there? No. Font. What are these fonts called? I don't know. 15. Detail pane. Memory view. Variable. Oh, that's little. Ha. Go up to 14. There's so many fonts. I'm just going to scroll through this real quick. Just making these a little bit bigger. Anything that's tiny, I'm just bumping up. to like size 14 or something. Okay, there we go. That's not bad. Some fonts are now bigger. We still have a couple that aren't, unfortunately. All right, so if you have your project here and you don't go into Microsoft Edge, if you click the little caret on the left side of that, you'll expand a submenu under your project. And it'll say JRE System Library. Those are like built-in functions and classes into like that are built into Java. We don't care about those yet. And then you'll see a folder. It's a folder icon that says SRC. SRC is for source. So if I click on that, just click once, and then right click, I can go to new class. Okay, new class. You can get there from the file menu, new class, or you can right click on the source and go to new class. So you do that, it brings up another menu. Now in here, this is where you name your class. This is what you're going to have a file with a Java extension, and the name of that file is going to be what you type in here. So I might as well just call this Lab1. Now I could call it something else, but this is what I'm going to call it, Lab1. And another important thing to do here on this page is when it says which method stubs would you like to create, you want to check the box that says public static void main string args. Check that box and then hit finish. Okay, and so what that did was it created an empty class for us called Lab1. So all of your functions that you write in Java are going to be contained in a class like this. So you have source, default package, because I didn't create a package name, lab1.java, lab1.java. And then here, this says public class lab1. That lab1 will match up with the file name lab1, guaranteed. They're required to. And all of your functions associated with the lab1 class are going to be here. Now, we are not going to be writing a bunch of functions yet. First things first, we should put our name here. There's different ways to do this. We want this here because we're going to turn in this file. So you can do a comment with a //. You'll notice there's already a comment in here on line 7 now. And then we should put our name. Now, I'm not super picky about how you do this, but it's not a bad idea to say name, put your name like that, date, put the date, and we should put our class here, or course here, like CPSC 06, and that's fine. That's going to be enough for this. But in a comment above your actual code, you put information like this. If you are writing code that you're going to distribute publicly, this is where you would put a license as well for, laying out the terms that people are allowed to use your code. So / on any lines that you want to comment out. There's other ways to do comments, but this is what we're doing now. Then under that, we have our code. Our code says public class lab1, public static void main string args, right? We asked the project to do that. And it says to do auto-generated method stub. So this function or method, in terms of like how Java refers to things, is called main. And you have to have a main function in your class. So public class lab1 curly braces. The curly braces open up here and close down here. So everything in between line 5 and line 12 is in the class. So you can put more than one method in the class. On line 7, it says public static void main string args. Those are command line arguments to this function or method. And the name of the method is main. Notice that after we do all that, another set of curly braces open, and those curly braces close at line 10. So everything in between these curly braces is part of the main method. So all of the code that we write goes here. So the first thing to do is just a sanity check to see if we did this correct. So I'm going to hit tab. So notice where the cursor is. It's all the way on the left. I'm going to hit tab. And it tabbed me over to 2 spaces automatically because it's trying to keep standard indenting. So notice that looking at this, your first thing that you write is all the way to the left. And then the next one, the method, is tabbed over 1 tab. And then inside of there, all the code we write should also be tabbed in. And that's kind of standard formatting. They don't always use tab. A lot of people use spaces, but we're going to use tabs, or I'm going to use tabs. And this is where we would like to have our code lined up this way, although it does not matter in Java. So what do? So just to check out if this is working, we need to write a line of code that we're going to be able to see run. So the first line of code I'm going to write is going to be system. That's set of classes built in, out, dot. And notice that as I'm typing here, it keeps bringing up a menu. That's so if you forget the names of things, you can actually select them off the menu. So like, for example, if I remember system, I can hit dot and it brings up this, and I can scroll through the variables and I would be able to find out, maybe, or not. I'll just type in out though, out. And then I want print line, parentheses. And in quotes here, I'm going to type a simple message. Is this working? All right. So notice how I have the text that I want to print in quotes and also in parentheses. That's anything that's going into the function goes in this set of parentheses here. We end our line of code with a semicolon. And there we go. That's the first line of Java code. I can, add some spaces to space it out if I want it to look nicer. And I think I've done it. So to check if this is working, I'm going to go run. There's a keyboard shortcut, but I'm just going to go run. Needs to compile it, hit OK. Now, when I do that, you'll notice it says, is this working, down here in the console, right? So the different tabs down here, I selected console. That's what was selected by default. And it says, is this working? And it is working. And so people go through this process. That's what they call like the hello world process, where you're trying to make a new programming language work. And so you're just trying to print something out. And usually what they print out is hello world. So I hit run again and run. And there we go. So we now have an empty project, but I've got 1 line of code that works. Okay. So that's getting set up with our empty project. Now I'm going to move this over like this. And you'll notice that we're down essentially on step D now, right? So you can see the same thing here. Public class, my class, curly braces. Mine's public class lab1, curly braces. Then public static void main. I have public static void main, string args, curly braces, right? So I'm looking at essentially the same thing as I have in D, although I did add this extra line. All right. So now what we want to do is write a program that asks for part E here, write a program that asks the user for 2 integers, X and Y, and then computes the sum, difference, product, and quotient and displays the results in the console. So let's do that. So if we're going to make integers x and y, and also we want to print the result on the screen, I'm going to say, well, they're get integers. So we create an integer by saying int x. That's an integer x. Any lines of code that you're writing, in with the semicolon. Int y, int z. I'm going to have a third variable there. So that creates 3 integers, okay? Now, you can declare them all on the same line this way, right? X, y, z, semicolon. That would also work. If I hit run, we're not going to see anything, but there were no errors either. If you forget something like the semicolon and you try to run this, you get, looking down here, exception in thread main, unresolved compilation problem, syntax error, insert semicolon to complete block statements. So they're complaining that there was no semicolon at the end of the line. So that creates 3 integers. They have no values yet. What we're supposed to do is I'm supposed to ask you for them. And so I'm going to copy paste this from another thing. So the first thing we can do is we can, well, actually, let's print something to the screen. So if I do system.out.print, I'm going to show you this. System.out.print, and then I say we're printing a thing. Run. Should run. Oops. Forgot my semicolon. We are printing a thing. And if I do this, I'm just going to copy paste this line after. So I kind of clicked 3 times there and it selected that whole line. And then I'm going to hit Control V, or I'm going to move down a line and then hit Control V to just copy paste that line twice. And I'm going to run this again. So notice a problem with what happened when I did this. I said print, we're printing a thing, print, we're printing a thing, and we got it twice side by side. That's the difference between print ln, which is print line, and print. So if I do print ln, then it prints this text and then goes to the next line. If I do print, it does not go to the next line. And actually what I want is, at the moment, is not to go to the next line. So I want system.out.print. I do not want to say we're printing a thing. I want to say enter first number, colon, and I'm going to put a space there to make it look a little nicer. So this is just going to print this to the screen. Right? Not to the screen, to the console. Enter first number. Great. Now, how do I get the number? Well, to get the number, I'm going to have to call a function that will let me enter or receive text from the user. So what I need to do is I need to create a new object called a scanner object. So what this will do is it's going to scan the keyboard. And so that way we can receive text from somebody typing stuff in. So at the moment, we don't need to think about this, but the type is a scanner. The name is going to be SC. So just the same as we said integer X, this is a scanner called SC. This is an integer called X. This is a scanner called SC. So what that'll do is allow us the ability to receive text from the keyboard. And then the actual line that does receive text is like this, SC next int. That's the function that will scan the keyboard for an integer. So I put that right there. Now, if I run this, I'm going to get an error. And that's because I did not add a line that we needed, which I need this utility function. So if I want the keyboard scanner, I need a line like this. It says import Java utility, whatever. I'll put it right there. Okay, so now when I run this, it should run. And it does. Okay, but we didn't get anywhere. So let's, we want to do the same thing for the second number. So I can copy both of these lines, Control C to copy, paste them, and I'm going to change this to say like second number, and I'm going to change my keyboard scanning thing to the Y. Now let's try to run this. Run. What happened? Oh, there's an extra X up here. Oops. I don't know how they got there. Save. Oh, because I was typing. Okay, I know why. Run. So enter the first number, 13. Enter the second number, I don't know, 5. So I had to click down in the console in order to do this. Enter, and then that's it. The program stopped. That's all we're doing. So notice that there's a space there. That space is because I added a space after the colon. If I didn't do that, then run. So I'm going to click in the console, and then I type, and there's no space there. So that was just formatting, the reason I did that. Okay, let's just type though. Okay, so good. So at this point, we have taken in our first two numbers. So don't forget to add this line on top, which will allow us to scan the keyboard or allow us to use that function in the first place. Then you need this line, and then we are able to get our keyboard stuff. Okay, so then what we want to do is, according to our PDF, we want to compute the sum, difference, product, and quotient of x and y and print them out. That's it. So I'm going to do this one at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, how about z equals, that's why I have the variable z, x plus y. Okay, so that's going to add x and y together and store the result in z. So this equals here, we're not claiming these are equal or asking if they're equal. We're saying x plus y should be set to z. So this is equals its assignment operator in Java. Oops. So that will make z equal to x plus y, and then we want to print it to the screen. So I'm going to copy one of these lines where we previously wrote something to the screen and put it right here. Now I'm going to use print line instead of print, which will just do an enter, like a new line after we're done. And what I want to do is this. So I'm just going to say sum x plus y equals like that. Okay. Now, if all I do is this and I hit run, I'm going to go 7. I'm just going to put in some numbers here. Oops. Terrible things happen because I didn't click in the console first. 7, 3, and then it says x plus y equals, but it doesn't actually put the result, right? So how am I going to put the result? First of all, that 7 shouldn't be there. The way you're going to put the result is, in quotes here, you have sum x plus y equals, and then we end the string. But inside of that print line, you can just put space z. Plus z, like that. And what that will do is it will add z to the end of this string. And then I run it. And again, I'll just pick a number, 7, 3, x plus y equals 10, right? So it did it. And then I just need to do the same basic thing for, I said sum, difference, okay, product, so I'm going to change z equals x times y, so asterisk is multiplication, and then division, which is a forward slash. Quotient x, oops, over y. All right, so I think I've done all of them, right? So I just calculated z and then I printed it out. Calculate z, print it out. And at that point, if I run this, it should just work. So I click in the console. Remember to click in the console. I'll do 7. I'm going to do 3. And we should just get the results here. Let me drag this up to see it all on the screen. So the sum, I put in 7 and 3. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Yes. 7 minus 3 is 4. Yes. 7 times 3 is 21. And 7 divided by 3 is 2. Now, you probably know, right? 7 divided by 3 is not 2. 7 divided by 3 is like 2 and 1/3. But our data type was an integer. That means an integer is a whole number. It can't store a fraction. So when you divide 7 divided by 3, it's supposed to be, I'll just type up here, 2.33333 forever, but that result can't be stored as an integer. So what happens is the entire fraction just drops off, and the result is a 2. Okay, so that's it. That is your lab. So that's the lab from beginning to end. So I'm going to hit save here, and let's look at this. So what can I say about it? Well, I mean, that's it. So one thing you can do is I need to get this file turned in. So you need to find this file, essentially. Now, I would recommend that you pay attention to where your project files are so you can do this. But I'm going to go to here, to the class, to the lab 1, and I can, it says submit nothing. That's because I messed this up. So ignore me. This should have been online, and I should have took file uploads and then restrict the file types, and all you can turn in is a Java file. Save. Okay. So I'm going to do student view. So I'm pretending I'm a student. I'm going to turn this in. So what am I going to do? It says choose a submission type. I'm going to upload. Let me make my font a little smaller. You can drag a file. I'm just going to go upload. Really, I have to drag. That's what I have to do. I can't just get a file menu. That's frustrating. Okay. So if that's the case, I have to go find my files. So I'm going to go to my C drive, and where I was saving them was in users. My username was Ghogan, Ghoga. Eclipse workspace. So I have to scroll down till I find Eclipse workspace. I'd help if it was in alphabetical order. Eclipse workspace. CPSC 6 lab 1. Source. There's my lab1.java. So that was quite a ways to go to get it, but there it is. That's my Java file. So I can drag it there. I can see that it's attached, and then I submit. Okay, now if you want it to not be quite so cumbersome to find your files, then what you might want to do is this. So let me just create a new lab. I'm going to actually select all that, Control C it. If I create a new lab, so I'm going to redo the whole process. New Java project, new lab 1, like that. Instead of using the default location, you can type in your own. So I can go browse, and then I could do like documents. I can make a folder here, like I can do, well, there's a Java folder there, but I can like right click and go new folder CPSC 06 in my documents, like that. And then I can make new folder. I don't know if I need to do this, but like lab 1 or something. Select folder. So I can type in my own folder name there. Next, finish. And then again, on source, create a new class. Remember to check that public string void main args for the method stuff we need. The name, I'm going to call it lab 1. New lab 1. Check the box that I need to check, hit finish, and I can just select all this, erase it, and put mine here, except that, remember, I called it new lab 1, so I need to change the name there. Save. Run it. Just double checking that it runs. That's everything still runs. And that's on my new project. So I have my both projects here now. And the reason you might want to do that is if I'm turning something in here, which I already did, but let me try again. If I want to turn it in again, I can open here, and in documents, I just created, wherever I created it, was it in Java? Where was it? Was it CPSC? CPSC 6, lab 1, source. It would have been easier to find, right? If I create my own folder. But that's what I turn in, is the Java file. So then I can drag that over. Okay, so that was lab 1. Cancel attempt 2. All right. Now, what if you want to use a different editor? Well, if you're using a different editor, what you can do is you can go to the course modules page, click Online Java IDEs, and then pick one of these to try. You can use Replit, I might recommend, or JDoodle Advanced IDE, I would recommend. Let's do JDoodle Advanced IDE. So when I do that, I get an interface like this. And we're already looking at myclass.java. Now, because this is myclass.java and the name is myclass, I don't want to change that name to like lab 1. I want to just leave it myclass. That's just going to be the easiest. So you would just erase the stuff in the middle there and put the code that you need. So I'm gonna copy paste all the stuff from main. In there. So that's the same stuff. I'm going to make sure that I put my name at the top and also import the Java utilities stuff that I need at the top. So now this looks exactly the same as my Eclipse project, except that the name of the class is my class because the name of my file is my class. I can change those, but this is what I'm doing. Okay. And this should be it. It should run now. Now, in order to do this, I need to check the box that says interactive because I'm going to type. Remember, I'm going to enter my numbers. So check the box that says interactive and then execute. Takes a minute to run, and then there we go. Enter your first number, 9, enter your next number, 5, and then it ran. Produced all of the results. And there you go. You have this file. And if you want to, you can right click on that. Actually, you can't right click on that. I can click on the three dots next to the name and hit download if I need to download that Java file. And I can download it anywhere I want. So D, school, fall, CPSC 6, wherever I want to put that, myclass.java, and wherever I save it, I would be able to find that file and drag it over to the submission. And so that's pretty simple there. What you might want to do is you might want to save this. So like if I hit sign in, you might have to register at first. I'm just going to sign in with Google. I lost it. Do I have the code? No, of course not. Redo that. All right, so there we go. Let's just run this again. Make sure I typed it in right. Why is it so slow? Okay, so it still works. And what can I do with it? Still nothing there. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe this isn't the best one to use just in terms of saving stuff. But how do I save it? Well, anyway, I don't know what I'm doing here. No. Oh, all right. Well, anyway, at least we were able to do this, but I don't know how to save this in a good way on here right now. Your another option would be replit.com, which there's a link in the online Java thing as well. I can log in here. I'm already logged in. This has a much more complicated interface. You might have to create an account. Once an account is created, I can go create. Search templates, we would want Java. So I start typing in Java, not JavaScript, Java. So Java replit. Title, CPSC 06 Lab 1, something like that. I can't make it private, so I'm going to hit create replit. Let it load, and I get here a blank project. They've made this a little bit different than what we were looking at in Eclipse. It says class main. So the name of the class is capital main. So like if I select all this and I paste it here, they called their class capital main. So since theirs was main, mine needs to be main. And I think this will run. Find out. So notice I did have to change that name of the class. Doing it. There we go. Enter first number, 7, 2. There we go. And it ran, it completed the end. So you can easily use replit as well. Advantage to replit is when I'm done, if I go back to my name here, Gregory Hogan, well, if I go my home, my repls, what's that? If I go to my home and I go my replets, then I can see over here the things that I have done. So 2 days ago, I did a program called My First Program, and just now I did one called CPSC 6 Lab 1. And the point is that I can go back to them and not lose those files, right? This is what I just did. So Replit is good because of that, but navigating Replit is a little bit harder. I don't know why, like, the CPU is overloaded on this right now. Not my computer, their computer. Okay, so anyway, that's about it for this video. Hopefully you saw how to use Eclipse, and you saw Replit as well. We can just, let me do one more thing. Create. You'd have to, in templates, go Java. Here you give it a name, Lab 1, new, like this, create Replit. You get a new project, and then all you would have had to do here is, if you're doing this from scratch, is erase that hello world line in the middle, which we're familiar with now, and start writing your code in there inside of the main function. So everything that we did in Eclipse can be done right here. And again, you're done, and it's just automatically saved in Replit. And to turn it in, you can click the 3 dots, download, main Java, and that file can be turned in. So pretty simple. That's it for now. Video went a little long. Sorry about what you just saw on your screen. Good luck with the lab.